Aloha everyone and welcome to another Tinker's Academy video. I'm your host Kay Elmer and this video is another installment in the video series. Welcome to LeelaQ, otherwise known as Leela Quantum Tech and Quantum Upgrade. The question we're answering today for our video FAQ series is the concept of quantum energy exposure effects. I had this really great chat with Philipp von Holtzendorff, the owner-operator of Leela Quantum Tech, and I just wanted to kind of ask him some questions that were popping up in our Telegram chat group regarding some of the different exposure effects when people are starting, brand new and or have been using quantum energy for a little while, the tools and quantum upgrade. And so we cover specifically, the idea of the best approach for quantum energy for individuals with chronic conditions, the idea of quantum hormesis. We also talk about, is stronger and stronger quantum energy, like upgrading your infinity blocks, turning up your boosters, what's that effect? And is that really necessary for more and more and more energy? Because everyone, seems to be, or a lot of people in the chat group are just really focused in on getting the strongest block or, getting the stronger energy and getting more and more energy into their lives. And, is that necessary? And what did Philip think about that? And lastly, I threw a question at him that popped up in our Telegram chat group about, people that are, going to their doctors and getting tests and blood tests specifically, whether or not, should they be turning off their quantum, energy for those tests? And what did he think about, people being diagnosed against perfect blood, when they're under the quantum energy bubble, versus just, their normal, not perfect blood, I guess is the best way to say it. So this is what Philip had to say. It was a great conversation. I just wanted to share with you and help you learn something. So here you go. The next question here is exposure effects. There's all these different effects from exposure to quantum energy. And so could you kind of elaborate on what that situation is and what your recommendation is for quantum energy as it relates to chronically ill people?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question because we find these chronic issues and autoimmune diseases and all of that more and more.
Yeah.
And it's all been coming through this modern way of living, which includes blue light, which includes, the blue light for people that don't understand what I'm talking about. Every time you look at your phone or on any other screen, you basically have blue light. Now, in your home, at home, you used to have these hot light bulbs or the light bulbs that get hot, right? Those at least
Yeah.
had more beneficial light.
Yeah.
And now the light spectrum is basically just LED blue light. So everywhere we go, has a huge impact on our melanin in the body and other factors. It's very bad. We have the EMFs, and then obviously we have depletion in soil and food nutrition and all of that. So that's how we develop these more chronic diseases. And if you think about what the quantum technology does, it helps with these things, with all these items, with these stressors, with these modern stressors. So to me, if there's a family member that has, or a friend with a chronic disease, I personally would always recommend this to be the first thing to do, to use the quantum technology, and then of course do all the other great things that are helpful. That we don't need to get into details here, but that's what I always recommend. I would not fear at all some detox effects because those are quite positive even, and just the way to deal with that is just in the beginning, take it easy. And we get accustomed to this energy so quickly also because it is so natural, right? It's nothing artificial, that I don't think this is really a big deal at all. We can just watch it in the first week or two, and then just gradually, always, already after the second, third day, we can start ramping it up a little bit. If we feel in the first 2-3 days that there's, oh yeah, maybe it's a lot, maybe I'm detoxing a lot, well, just take a day break, then go at it again, or scale it down a little bit, and then keep at it. But after 2, 3, 4 weeks, you should be on a pretty solid level already, and it shouldn't be a problem. So I think definitely go for it. Don't
Okay.
don't forget to drink good water.
Okay, yeah. That's my recommendation for that is, go slow and go low and observe and adjust.
Yes, correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
All right, great. Yeah, yeah, because I know that it's beneficial. It's just that you got, I'm just, I err on the side of caution, but okay, that's great. I'm glad that we align on that recommendation. So everybody out there, there's the answer. The other question that I've got, and this is something, that comes up a lot in the C60 world, and Ian has talked about this with C60, which is the hormetic effect and hormesis. And what I mean by that, for people that don't know that word, is not all, in other words, you just kind of want to vary your intake of a certain supplement so your body doesn't get used to it and get dependent on it, or just start to ignore it. So you want to like taper off, maybe skip a few. This is about supplements. You want to skip a few days, change out your routine, but always exposing your body to different levels of it, and spacing it out so that your body never gets overly used to something and dependent on something, right? And that's supplements. So I'm wondering, and this has come up, is there such a thing as a quantum hormesis effect, where is it a good idea that, like, to maybe like kind of turn this stuff off for a little while and kind of just, level set, and then, not always have it at the same power every single day, not have your boosters at the same time every day, and then maybe take your stuff off for a day, but should people be like varying their level of exposure over time, to kind of create that hormesis effect so that their bodies don't become dependent on this external energy source?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on
Another
that?
Yeah, another great question. I don't see that there's any issue with that because the way that this works is very different from any physical compared to any physical intervention that we know of, or that I know of at least, because you can indeed, if you take vitamin C, well, maybe vitamin C is not a good idea because the body doesn't really produce it anymore. But let's take any other of supplement. You take it literally every day, then you become used to it, and then maybe with certain substances the body will just not produce it anymore, just because, yeah, you're constantly feeding it, right?
Right.
So I think there's always a good point on mixing that up, or just taking a day break, maybe every other week, or maybe once a week, and maybe changing up the times also when you take it, stuff like that. With quantum energy and also these frequencies, it's different because it actually reminds our biofield on how this state is, and it can then establish it easier, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So if I have someone that never had a block, and then they suddenly live with a block for 2-3 weeks, and then they go to town, compared to 3 weeks prior when they went to town, now they're going to town with a much higher vibration in their biofield. It's much stronger, uh,
Hmm.
unless there are other things that I may be doing in this on this specific day that would cripple my biofield, right? I don't know what that would be, but maybe I expose myself to witchcraft, and tell myself for 3 hours that I hate myself and stuff like that, right? With these efforts, I could start to destroy my biofield, right? But if
Yeah.
I don't do any of those things, and it's basically pretty similar to how it was 3 weeks ago, I have such a stronger biofield. Just even when I turn off the quantum upgrade, or the take away the block, because it trains our system. So because it is so natural, it's so inherent to our own existence, it doesn't do that. There is not too much of it, really. There isn't that you need to not do it on Sundays just so that you don't become too used to it. I, we haven't seen any of that yet.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. That's great. That's great to know. And tied to that question is the idea of, everybody, or not everybody, but there's so many, members that are really interested and or pursuing stronger and stronger and stronger, energy, right? They want to buy the most recent, strongest block. They want to upgrade more and more. They want to upgrade their capsules. There's all these people, myself included, that are just seeking stronger and stronger and stronger energy. So, is that even necessary? And what are the effects of that? And, like, where does that go in terms of, like, once you kind of establish a really strong biofield, is it even an issue? Or, and what happens if I keep increasing my energy? Like we've got individuals out there that are out, that have literally upgraded their infinity blocks like dozens of times, and they're really high numbers at this point. So
Yeah.
what about that? That's the question is like, what up with the pursuit of stronger quantum energy, and what
Yeah.
happens over time, in your opinion?
So the most important thing is to understand is that it's very individual. It's not the same for everyone. And we all of each of us has the responsibility to tune in and to figure out what is the right thing for us personally without the regular modern desire of having the strongest and fastest and whatever at all times. Now, I want to say that the new Infinity block that we launched this year is definitely much better than the one that we still had a year prior, but that had not necessarily something to do with just the power. It really had a lot to do with the actual features. So I just want to make that clear. So
Ah,
I do
okay.
understand why people want to certainly have the newest of that, because it has all these greatest features. And then you can even have higher energy levels that are even more harmonious and all of these things, right? So that's a great thing. But leveling up isn't, I think it really depends on what we need. So, I mean, I go for higher levels, but I don't just automatically do it. I do it when I feel it. And I think that is what I try to get across, that people feel, and then they don't think they don't develop fast enough, or they just need to also be at that level just because the neighbor is there, or Susan in the Telegram group wrote she's at a whatever level,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't mean that I need to do it. It always means I need to just watch out for myself. And if we do that more, then we don't do anything wrong. Because the thing is, if we feel and then we act based on what we feel, it's always right. We're always right with that. That's what, the mind is just the brain that's constantly trying to automatically just go for higher and more, or for this or for that. Um, and that's really all I can say about that. If we just automatically upgrade way too fast and we don't watch out for ourselves, and it becomes too much, then, we've had that situation in the past with someone. He had upgraded too much, and then literally his own system couldn't take it anymore. His own biofield system, basically. That's what I
Hmm.
mean by that,
Yeah.
and which includes his physical body, couldn't take it anymore, and it literally blocked the block at that point, so that the block couldn't even um, create that energy field anymore the way it would under normal circumstances. And then we actually had to work with him and also fix the block in order to ease that again, right? And that's
Uh-huh.
just something, I don't want to scare anyone off, right? That usually doesn't happen. That person just went more all the time, and wasn't paying attention at all to where he was at that point, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
and I don't assume that a lot of people do that, right? Because we say just be mindful with it,
Uh-huh.
and look and check. And if you just take a very balanced approach, I think you're always on a good path.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I mean, when I my first two original infinity blocks, I stopped at 9. I just all of a sudden just felt it was the right place to be, and I just stopped. And then, but I did use the booster capsule. So, when people use their booster capsules on their older IBs, um, does that impart onto the older IBs all of the features of the new one, or just boost the energy?
No. So the booster capsule adds all the features to
Ah,
the old
awesome,
Infinity
awesome.
block. So it's in no way inferior to the quote unquote new Infinity block that we offered. I think it was January, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
I
it
don't
was
know,
January.
sometime this year. The only thing was that the Infinity block that we started offering was stronger in energy. But if you had, for example, two regular infinity blocks, and now you use this booster capsule, you had all the features included, and then you could start upgrading them again, and you'd be very quickly at that very same level, right?
Okay. Yeah, it's like you actually, when we talked about that earlier in the year, you recommended if you had two, boost them, and boost them individually and not at the same time. And I took that up, and I got to tell you, I boosted the first one. I was like, I could feel this entirely different feeling from the block, and my intuition just was like, this is a lot of energy. I literally waited, and it took 4 weeks before I felt like I was in tune with the first block. And then I boosted the second one and I bumped up again. And it was this wild feeling of just having the second one doing, now I had two in my house. And that was pretty wild. So yeah, I definitely followed your recommendation and I felt the reason why. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Thanks for that. Now, another question
Sure.
that kind of came up is a really great question. I didn't know the answer, so I just kind of guessed. But the idea of blood testing, and the question came from a member who was getting their blood tested by their doctor, and the question was, because of the studies, right, that the quantum energy really, kind of does this incredible, wonderful thing about all the different blood attributes, and it's all been documented. But the question is should I be turning off my quantum upgrade if I'm getting my blood tested by my doctor? Because aren't they going to see the good? I mean, aren't they going to see, right, this perfect picture of my blood and misdiagnose me? And should I turn everything off, wait a week, and then go get the blood test so they see the natural me, and that way they can diagnose off of that? It's a great question, right? So the question for you, Philip, is should people turn off all that quantum stuff and wait a while before they get, if they're scheduled for a blood test? Is the doctor going to get a misdiagnosis because they're going to see this perfect blood kind of thing? What do you think?
No, you don't see a misdiagnosis because if there's something in the blood that you have that's not good, it would show, right? So I mean,
Okay.
I don't see any point. It just, you will have a better situation when you're turned on than when you're turned off. But then if you use a quantum upgrade, for example, why would you turn it off, right? That I would only do if you wanted to test for yourself some before and after effects, for example, and that, obviously you would get tested with a before test where you don't use it, but then you shouldn't have used it for a few weeks. I suggest at least, and then do it again. But other than that, no. I mean, it doesn't mask anything, right? It just
Okay.
helps the body to function better.
Yeah. Okay. So you can basically, taking a blood test as you are, and if you've got quantum in your life, that is how you are. And okay, so that makes sense because that's what I would do. I wouldn't turn it all off. But it was a great question. It wasn't, it's like, oh, that's a good question. Well, thank you very much for that. That was really an interesting chat with Philip, and I hope that you found that interesting as well. Thank you very much for watching the video. Vielen Dank to our German friends. If you like this type of information, just please like and subscribe so you can stay on top of more Leila information as it comes out on my channel. So thank you very much for watching and have a great day.